right, let's go ahead and get started. It's time for the monthly market report. I'm David Childers and excited to be back for the July monthly market report. We're at the middle of the year right now, so we've got a lot in store for this monthly market report. I'm going to start off talking about where we're at in the market right now, and then we'll talk about what's coming in the second half of the year. A little bit longer monthly market report that we're doing today than usual, but I think you're going to find a lot of good information in here about the current market and about what's to come. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start right here with a quote from Ivy Zelman from the June broker report. It says, this month's overall homebuyer demand rating equaled 86 on a 0 to 100 scale, down from 88 last month and marking the first sequential decline since November. So this is important right now as we stand right here in the first part of June, that we're seeing buyer demand, according to these brokers in the Zelman report, start to wane just a little bit. So an important thing we want to look at, Ivy Zelman, a trusted source and information for what is happening. So certainly something we want to pay attention to. Let's move on though to the percent of respondents that say it's a good time to buy. This comes from the Home Purchase Sentiment Index. You can see here that's dropped to 35%. This is important because this time last year, if you look to the left, this was over 60%. So let's go back to what Ivy said. Brokers are saying, you know what, we're starting to see buyer demand wane a little bit. And this is a survey of actual buyers where they say, you know what, I'm not sure right now is a good time to buy. 1 in 3 saying that, where it was double that this time last year. Why is this important? Perception is reality. And buyers' perception right now is making causing them to make a different decision. Let me give you an example. So you were to walk out on the street today and you were to step to the corner and start to go across the street, but you see a car coming, you're going to step back. Your brain is telling you, I sense danger. My perception is there's danger. Car's going to pass. You're not going to get hit. And you've made a decision. Your decision has been informed by your perception. And that's exactly what's starting to happen with buyers. Their perception is it's not a good time to buy, and that's informing decisions. And oh, by the way, we see this right here with showing time. The latest showing time data shows buyers starting to trickle down, and buyers saying, you know what, not sure right now, this is the right time to buy a home. Now, I'm not saying these things and, the sky is falling with buyers. Quite the opposite right now. You can see visually here, we're ahead of where we were over the summer of last year, where we know we packed a ton of business into a few months coming out of the lockdown. So an important point to start to notice that we're seeing buyer demand wane, but certainly not saying there isn't buyer demand out there, because it is out there. But the reality is that buyers are experiencing buyer fatigue. And I captured some realities here. Our KCM research team put these together. Record high price appreciation. We've seen record high median price, and in our business, median price can be a little bit distracting because we know we're selling more on the higher end than the lower end, so always not an accurate indicator. But Case-Shiller came out this week saying that homes across the country in the past year had appreciated at 14.6%. So we know we're seeing a lot of appreciation in the market, and certainly where you're at, the same. 2, record low inventory. That checks out. We don't need to talk about that. We know there's low inventory in the market. 3, record high percent of sales over the list price. We certainly know that's a reality of the market. 4, record low days on market. And 5, historically low mortgage rates. We've talked extensively about this over the past year. Last year, the average 30-year fixed hit a low 16 times. And when we put all this in one place, that's a lot. There are a lot of buyers right now saying, I don't know if it's the right time to buy a home. And we want to pay attention to that and address these realities with them. Right now, the buyer talking points that are in the market are expected turn coming in the market, because it's already happening. We can already start to see buyer demand wane. In helping your buyers understand that. Now, I'm going to talk in just a minute about what's at stake, why buyers need to stay in the hunt for a home, even though it can be frustrating. 2, don't let this turn fool you on the front end, because the market's still hyper competitive. that's the reality of where we sit right now. Summer is when serious buyers commit 100%. If you're working with a buyer right now, maybe time for a hard conversation to say, look, you've got to commit 100% if you're into this. And there are a lot of reasons to be to buying right now, because the risk is you're going to get left behind. That's our last talking point. Don't get left behind because certainly the price is not going down. We're going to talk about forecast in just a minute, and we know the forecast for things is going to be more expensive. Interest rates are going up and prices are going up. You know, the graphic I always like to use when we start to describe the market is this buyers versus sellers market. This goes all the way back to 1999, and we're still very much in a seller's market. And I don't think we're looking at the shift to a buyer's market anytime soon, but expect some of the frenzy to cool off in the coming months, in the second half of this year. You know, no doubt as we start to shift our focus on from buyers to sellers, no doubt American home equity has skyrocketed. This is the latest data from CoreLogic. The average gain in equity on a mortgage home over the past year, $33,400, significant gains in equity across the country. The average amount of equity on a home with a mortgage is $216,000. Tremendous equity in homes across the country. 38.2% of the homes in this country are owned free and clear, and we know that almost 20% is the equity growth over the past year. So much equity in homes across the country. People are tapping into that equity as they think about, okay, do we want to sell? Do we want to go out and do something? Their ears are starting to perk up as they think about, is now the right time to sell. What are experts saying about sellers right now? Let's start off with Odetta Cushy from First American. It looks like existing inventory is starting to inch up, which is good news for the housing market. Parched for more supply. You know, I can't think of a better word in the supply conversation than parched. And Odetta Cushy is right. Second, Hawes says this: we're seeing another significant week-over-week gain in inventory. This is great news for buyers. And Lawrence Yun says supply is expected to improve, which will give buyers more options and help tamp down record high asking prices for existing homes. So we're starting to see experts talk about, we're seeing more inventory coming into market. As we go into the second half of the year, we're going to continue to see more inventory come into market. And oh, by the way, we see this right here in the latest NAR update. You know, we started out the beginning of this year, inventory relatively flat, but starting to gain inventory. Now, we've talked about a couple of things over the last several months and even the last year: market velocity, the number of transactions, and inventory, those listings being able to be on the market long enough to become inventory versus getting snapped up quickly. We're seeing the velocity of the market remain the same, very quick moving market, and inventory is now beginning to rise, which is a good thing. You know, I want to use a quote from Realtor.com here that I think sums up where we're at. The improvement we saw in new listings growth from May to June shows sellers are entering the market historically later in the season, which could mean we'll see home buying continue into the fall as buyers jump at new opportunities. As we go into the fall, expect these buyers to come into the market, expect folks to put their home on the market, and that'll be something that we're going to continue to pay attention to. If I was talking to a seller right now, our seller talking points: don't be too unrealistic. We know a lot of sellers right now trying to catch the market. As more inventory comes in the market, the opportunity to be too unrealistic is going to have to be worked with. Wait, and you'll miss out on an extremely attractive market. It's never been a better time to sell. Surveys are saying that. You know, buyers starting to say, not sure I want to buy, but sellers saying, you know what, this is the best time to sell. And price appreciation will moderate as rates and inventory rise later this year. No doubt that is on the horizon. So as we start to look towards the second half of the year, I want to talk about some forecasts. Start off with forecast in talking about what we see from experts, and then we'll talk about some of maybe the headwinds, some of the challenges we could see in the second half of the year. First, we'll start off with rates. Mortgage rate projections. The quick answer here is mortgage rates are projected to go up. As we look at this, by the middle of next year, this average of all of these four forecasters about 3.5%, a little over 3.5%. And, is it going to be there? Is it going to be a little bit higher, a little bit lower? Time will tell. The only question really is by how much are rates going to go up and by when? And that's what we're dealing with. Certainly, if you're working with somebody who's buying right now, helping them understand the forecast for rates is going to go up. It's going to cost more in the future to borrow the money to buy a home. What about prices? Let's look at the most up-to-date forecast for prices going into the second half of this year. The average of these 5 forecasters, Zelman, MBA, NAR, Fannie and Freddie, 8.9%. Now, you've heard me say this before. The one thing all of these forecasters have in common is every one of them has raised their forecast as we've gone throughout the year. You know, we started off this year, the average of these forecasters was about 5%. And really that was based upon more inventory coming into market, which we haven't seen. And they've up-leveled their forecast, knocking on the door again of another year of, you know, close to 10% if we don't see double-digit appreciation in the year. Very, very likely that they would upgrade their forecast as we go throughout the year. And it's all going to be dependent upon inventory. We want to keep an eye on that. Let's talk about inventory for just a minute. There were several areas that inventory was forecasted to come into the market. Builders, those affected by the pandemic, those that put off selling their homes during the pandemic because of health concerns. Let's talk about that in just a minute. The most recent builder confidence housing market index from the National Association of Home Builders came out and slipped just a bit, 81 on the scale there. Now, we are ahead of where we were pre-pandemic with builders. That's important to remember. You can just see visually here where that was the beginning of last year and where we stand today. But these concerns of land, labor, and lumber are what dominates the builder concern right now. Lumber, we're starting to see a little bit of relief in the price of lumber. Labor, you know, they're having challenges getting people out there to be able to build the number of homes that they have. And the land concerns are different depending on the area that the different builders are building in. We know beginning of this year starts were higher, permits were higher. They're definitely building, but will not be able to build enough to fill the void left by the lack of building for the last 13 years, which we've covered extensively. So look for more builds, but certainly not enough to be the solve to the inventory challenge. Let's talk about forbearance. Forbearance has dropped down to 3.93%. And that's important to look at because as we think about that, forbearance right now is something that people will be affected by, but certainly do not expect a wave of foreclosures or people coming off forbearance that will be able to bring the inventory back in the market that is needed. You know, Black Knight released a study over the past week showing that 96% of people have at least 10% equity. And I want to break this down for you real quick. You see share of mortgages in forbearance with less than 10% equity, 4% based on the current loan to value. If you add in 18 months of deferred interest, that rises to 9%. If you add in 18 months of deferred principal and interest, that rises to 13%. So, you know, those folks that have at least 10% equity can easily sell their home, put a little bit of money in their pocket, and you know, get to the other side of the financial crisis that their family is facing if they need to sell. I think this is something we need to continue to talk about, but very, very encouraging numbers about the equity in homes that are in forbearance. The other area that we are seeing inventory just improve is those that are putting their homes on the market maybe that delayed. You know, most recently, according to Realtor.com, 8.8% growth in month-over-month housing inventory. And you can see, depending on the state that you're in, what that is. But starting to see folks perk up to selling like we talked about before. So expect more of that inventory to come into market as we progress through the summer. You know, one area that I thought was interesting that Bill McBride said there could be the risk of a bubble is this. The only places where McBride told me he could envision a bubble bursting are locations where urban residents bought second homes in a panic, only to have the urban core quickly get vaccinated and normalized in 2021. He goes on to talk about, we see this in small towns in New England, beach towns and things like that. So the one area that certainly could correct itself is the second home market. Now, let me break down the data for you in that. This is a look at how the second home market surged in 2020 from Zelman and Associates. On the left, you see primary homes, the middle, second homes, the right, investment properties. Let's focus on second homes. In 2019, the second home market grew by 2%. In 2020, the second home market was actually forecasted to constrict just a little bit, and yet it grew by 27%. So think about these are people that left a city, left an area, and said, we're going to go buy a second home. We're going to get out of town while the pandemic is raging, and now life is getting back to normal. Those people may come back and say, you know what? Life is getting back to normal. We got to take the kids to basketball. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. And now we have this second home we may want to sell. An area to look at, there's been surveys that have come out and, do people have buyer's remorse of buying a home in the last year? I would be making a call to those folks saying, did you buy a home? Did you buy a second home that you may want to sell right now? An area to keep an eye on is the second home market. We're going to keep an eye on that, but could be an opportunity for additional inventory to be brought back to market. But, overall, as we look to the second half of this year, sales are forecasted to increase nicely this year and next as compared to last year. Now, 2020 in our business outside of the pandemic is probably a year that most of us would take back. 6.5 million homes sold in this country last year. The forecast for this year is, close to 7 million homes. You can see the ranging forecast. The biggest challenge this year we'll have is we won't reach the market potential. We cannot sell homes that we don't have. And we need more listings. We need more homes available for those that want to buy them. We move into 2022, these forecasts as well, as good or better than what we saw last year at 6.5 million homes. So very, very good home sales for this year and for next coming back. I pulled a quote that we've used before, but from JP Morgan, what they're telling their customers right now, home buyers, interest rates are still historically low, though they are inching up. Housing prices have spiked during the last 6 to 9 months, but we don't expect them to fall soon. And we believe if they are more likely to keep rising. If you're looking to purchase a new home, conditions now may be better than 12 months hence. So clearly the sign, if you're thinking about buying, now is the time to buy. We talked about that with, just the appreciation that's forecasted in the market, interest rates that's forecasted in the market. And getting that word out to the buyers that we're working with is crucially important right now, considering where they're at. Now, I do want to talk about some of the headlines that, could appear in the second half. I do believe we'll see some headwinds relative to things in the housing market that we need to be educated on. We always say headlines do more to terrify than clarify. The job of the news is not to educate you. The job of the news is to get you to watch more news. And we need to be prepared for the things that are going to come up. The first issue that certainly I think will come up is cash out refinances. In the first quarter of this year, $41 billion was processed as cash out refinances. And, if we look at that comparatively speaking to the red bars here during the housing crisis, the height of the housing crisis, $320 billion cashed out as cash out refinances. So, if we were to extrapolate the 41 billion times 4 quarters, we'd be looking at $164 billion cashed out. Nowhere near what it was back then, but it looks something like this in cash out refinances. So expect to see a headline that cash out refinances are the highest they've been in the last 10 years. And oh, here we go again. But being educated, being able to bring perspective to those that have those questions is what's going to be crucially important. I want to go back to Bill McBride from Calculated Risk on this. He says for the first quarter of 2021, the net equity extraction was 41 billion, or 0.8% of disposable personal income. This is nothing like the amount of equity extraction during the housing bubble as a percentage of disposable income. So we're nowhere near the amount in what I just talked about, and we're nowhere near the amount as a fraction of disposable personal income. Back in the housing crisis, the amount of equity extraction or cash out refinances as a percentage of disposable personal income was close to 10%. In the notes of all of these slides, you can go back in and read the report. We always give you the link there. I'd encourage you, if you want to know more about this, it's a simple read in this report, but you'll be very enlightened to see what that was back then as compared to today. Nowhere near. And of course, this will rise this year, but nowhere near what it was. It's a headline that gets a lot of attention, but the reality is people have a lot of equity in their homes and they will access that equity. The other headline that I think you're going to see is mortgage payments are increasing significantly. Since this year, we've seen almost 20% growth in the average mortgage payment. And that's something we need to be prepared of. What are two things that we know about that? First, the meaning and what people wanted in a home changed in the last year and in the pandemic. What people wanted before the pandemic to what they want now has changed. We've lived at home, we've worked at home, we've worked out at home, we've eaten at home, all the things that we know, we've educated at home. And people are saying, we want something different. Second thing we know, people are willing to pay for it. They're willing to say, you know what, I want this particular home, this particular amenity, this particular, feature we don't have, and we're willing to pay for that. We're seeing that happen all across the market in the homes that people buy. So expect to see that as a headline in the market out there. The next one, affordability, that will be talked about in the coming months, certainly in the second half of this year. Now, we've used the Housing Affordability Index from NAR for a long time. What stands out to you are the homes that were so affordable during the housing crisis. Remember, the way you read this, the higher the index, the higher the number, the more affordable homes were. And you can see the years when distressed properties dominated the market, homes were very, very affordable. So if somebody mentions, hey, homes certainly aren't as affordable today as what they've been in the past, your first question should be, as compared to when? As compared to the last 2 years? Well, yeah, I can see that here graphically. Homes aren't as affordable today as the last 2 years, but 3 years ago, no, they're actually more affordable. Well, all the time prior to the housing crisis, they're actually more affordable today. The time during the housing crisis, not as affordable. So we want to be educated on this. We want to be able to have those conversations with people and show them this is what's going on before their perception takes over and informs their decision, because every one of these issues is going to pour gas on the bubble conversation. Are we seeing a bubble? Here we go again, type of thing. Harvard just came out with their 2021 State of Nations Housing, a joint study for housing at Harvard University, and they say this: these outsized increases, they're talking about price there, have raised concerns that a home price bubble is emerging. However, conditions today are quite different than in the early 2000s, particularly in terms of credit availability. The current climate house prices instead reflect strong demand amid tight supply, helped along by record low interest rates. So not a bubble, supply and demand imbalance, and that's what we face. And that's from Harvard University. But I do believe we'll see some of these headlines. I do believe they will stoke fears of a bubble. And I do believe the uneducated buyer or seller that's misinformed will make a different decision. Now, if somebody wants to make a decision, it's not the right time for them. We want them to make the best decision, but we never want somebody to make a decision because they've been misinformed. Now, I'll wrap up with this as we wrap this mid-year monthly market report up with what's at stake right now, because I think that's the question that we have to keep in perspective every day as we are in this market. We try to bring clarity to the clients that we are serving. As a part of the home price expectation survey, the forecast for housing for the next few years is very good. They're forecasting this year almost 9% appreciation, a little over 5% next year, and then getting into more historical normal appreciation in the years following. Historical appreciation in this country has been about 3.8%. Looking back over time. So what do we see here? Somebody buying a home today, the appreciation they stand to earn is significant. On an average priced home, $350,000 home, the equity growth over the next 5 years is just over $93,000. That's what's at stake, not to mention all the non-financial benefits of home ownership that we know. The ability to earn and grow equity, almost $100,000 equity in the next 5 years, is significant. And that may be the conversation with somebody that's in a situation where they're getting frustrated and they're saying, you know what, I don't know if we should continue to look for a home. If they want to pause, then that's the right thing for them. We want them to do that, but we want to also show them what's at stake right now. As always, I'm grateful for the time that you invest in the monthly market report and being the educator for the clients you serve. And we're grateful for that. We'll see you back here next month and look forward to seeing you then.